Hey, Bon, we're live here at the Sound Ventures Conference. Is continuing. We have is it our third presentation now? Joao is unfortunately not available, but he has recorded a video for us that we're going to sit back and enjoy. I'm just going to hand over to Joao to talk about the MetPlus project. Here he is, and I hope you can hear it okay.
And we're live. Welcome, welcome. I hope y'all are really enjoying the Digital Ventures conference and that everything is going fine with the conference. So we have some pretty interesting talks today, and I think it's going to be very pleasant. And we are going to decide who's going to be our new trustees that I believe are, for the vote, are the same ones that we currently have now. So that's good. And yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen and yeah, let's do it. So I'm Joao, and I am going to talk a little bit about MetPlus and the MetPlus project. Gonna talk a little bit about that, and I'm a software engineer that came from Portugal, and I played a little bit around on the UK and Spain, and now I'm on the US. And yeah, I'm currently working at Pivotal Software. And that's it. That's me. That's the person who's going to present today. So now I'm going to share my screen a little bit so y'all can see my my presentation. And so sharing my screen now. Let's hide this and go into presentation mode. Okay, awesome. So MetPlus. As I said, I'm Joao, and representing this. This is the agenda for my presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about MetPlus and what is MetPlus, and I'm going to talk a little bit also about pets to understand a little bit better what pets is. So yeah. So let's start with this. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So MetPlus. What's MetPlus? MetPlus is a Michigan employment agency that helps people that are looking for jobs to find those jobs. So basically, they provide hands-on training to all the job seekers, and also they help find the best job for that candidate and help them also to develop new skills so that they can be more successful on their job hunting, and also gives them a little bit of information about how to become entrepreneurs and having ideas, and how to move from the position where you have an idea and you can just launch yourself to do something else, do something about that idea. And basically, this is MetPlus. This is our client. The person that's responsible for MetPlus is called Chet Dietz, and he's the person behind MetPlus and Pets. Some people asked me before, what is this like MetPlus? This is Pets. Well, what's the difference between them? And that's what I'm trying to like a little bit demystify in this talk as well. So MetPlus, as I said before, it's the agency itself. So it's the people that work, that try to help job seekers and so on. And we have Pets. And what is Pets? Pets is a public employment tracking system. This public employment tracking system, the idea behind it is to help a job seeker find jobs, to help the companies that are looking for job seekers to find employees, and also to try to somehow ensure that the job seekers are matched with the best job option for them. And this way, PAT system is responsible for trying to match these two together so that the agency is more successful and also the companies are more successful. And also the fourth point of what's called PATs, and the idea behind PATs is to help the government track the employment agencies. So one of the things that our client Chet talked about when we first talked about PATs and so on was that he was seeing that in Michigan, the government had a lot of problems trying to understand if the employment agencies were doing the job that they were supposed to do, if they were helping people to find jobs and not just spam their curriculum around so that their resume around so that they could win the benefits, because that was not it was not beneficial for the job seekers either. So there's no tool till this point that does this, and this is like the ultimate goal for PATs, is to help and to be implemented at government level as well, to be able to help the government to understand what's happening with employment agencies. So basically, we are talking about a system that is going to manage the agency itself and what they do inside the agency. So we'll talk about like different types of personas and so on that will be around. Okay, so a little bit of history about MetPlus, about PATs. So the PATs project, as I said before, was an idea that Chet from MetPlus got from working in this field for some time, and so he had this idea of developing this system, but the problem is that he needed some help with it. So he reached out to me, and I started working with him. And when I understood like the vision behind it, I really thought that this project would really be a good fit to Agile Ventures, and we could benefit. We as a community, Agile Ventures, could benefit a lot for having a project that's in the US that has some visibility in some different areas, and also it was a pretty interesting project. Sorry. And so we're talking about 2015 now. So it was around maybe August or something of 2015. And we're talking about 3 years. So it's gonna make his 3-year birthday in August. So all this relationship started. We in the beginning we had some discussions talking about open source versus closed source, talking about what would be best for the chat and MetPlus. At this idea of this project, and try to help them guide them into a nice board. So the idea here became this project. We started on 2015 August, and unfortunately we went live, right? And we went live, but not as y'all might be thinking, where we'd be just doing small increments and do changes and putting them live in front of users as soon as possible. And it took some time for this to happen, and but now we're live. So it took us like 2.5 years in order to get to this point, but now we are at this point, and we're live, and we start having people developing. So this is an interesting case in Agile Ventures, where interesting discussions about should we try to go live as soon as possible, and why is that? And then you have the pressure also from the other side, from the client, that was saying, yes, but this doesn't have like all the features that need to be there, right? Because if job seekers cannot find jobs, this platform does not work. And eventually we were able to change a little bit the way chat thinks, and try to make this process much more agile. It took some time, and we have thousands of lines of code written for this application. So this is more or less the beginning, what happened through this project. We had a lot of people that came into the project, contributed, and then went away. We have a lot of examples of people that were very involved in this project and then just branched out to different projects inside of interest to try to do different things as well. So this is a pretty interesting project. It's not even like remotely the first project on Agile Ventures or anything like that, but it's a very long running one, and it's competing with the ones that we do have for a very long time. So yeah, so this is a little bit about history and of the product. So let's talk a little bit about the PET system itself, right? So we know now that the PET system is going to administrate agencies. We know that it's going to be able to somehow match jobs and job seekers. You try to merge that information together and try to give that information to the job seekers, and it will help everybody. So this required a little bit of an architecture planning. And as you can see, we do have PETs that basically is a Ruby on Rails application with a Postgres backend. And then, like, this is the full website. And when you see, when you go to the website, the PETs workforce, you will see that everything is rendered on PETs. So the system is pretty big at this point. We do have different actors, as some of them I mentioned before. Some of them we'll see a little bit later. And yeah, so like all the management is done at the PETs level. And then we realized that there was an interesting use case for branching out a service that would be able to crunch the resumes. So this is what it's called, like the resume cruncher, and it's a completely different application that runs on Spring Boot and has a backend of MongoDB. This allowed us, like this split of architecture allowed us to be able to concentrate all the business logic into one place and have just like some sort of a data storage that would allow us, that would do like a dual work. It would store the resumes and the job descriptions, and it would also do some interesting algorithms around it to try to calculate what's the best match between between a resume and a job. Try to find who's best, not really qualified, but what are like the more similar job descriptions and resumes. So as I was saying, like PETs itself knows about the resumes. He knows, the system knows where they live, and they live in this resume cruncher. And when it needs them, just tells, okay, resume cruncher, please give me this resume, and just go with it. as well, when you try to match any, well, let's imagine that you're a job seeker and try to find out if there is any job that match your resume. When you do that, you also are doing queries into the resume cruncher, and it will answer it back. So basically, this is the architecture. It's not a very complex architecture, but it allows for some scalability and allows to have some interesting works. Okay, so state of the nation now. We do have this doesn't look like a lot of features, especially for the amount of time of development that we're talking about, but it's really hard to create a management system for an agency, an employment agency, because there are so many moving parts around, and there are so many things that would be interesting to do and to work on. But at this point, what the job seeker, that's a person that is looking for a job, what they can do, they can go, they can register themselves, they can be on the platform. And what they can do on the platform itself is just, they can search for jobs, they can see, they can apply for a specific job, and they can use, on this search, they can search just like seeing the jobs or using the matching criteria, matching their resume to try to understand like what jobs best suit that resume. And basically, this is like a very interesting set of information that can be done, can be retrieved here. And then we do have three different sets of actors that are people that work in an agency. So this is a little bit more complex because we do have case managers, we do have job developers, and we have agency admins. So what's the difference between them? Because like these functionalities are a little bit entangled between them. These three names of positions, in the end, they have like very specific rules, but they are all together a little bit like a path. So let's start with the case manager. The responsibility of a case manager in an agency is to help the job seeker to get to enhance their skills, to how do you write a resume, what's the best options for you in terms of how can you improve yourself. So the responsibility of the case manager is basically help the job seeker be prepared for what's coming next, right? And it's their first point of contact on the agency. So if you have a case manager, if you're a job seeker and you have any question about the application, you just go there and talk to the case manager. So the second step on this pipeline is the job developer, right? And the job developer responsibility is to match the job seekers and the jobs. So it's basically the glue that we're talking about. And their responsibility is to find for a specific job if, in this case, MetPlus has any candidate that is a good fit for it. So, and after that, the job developer as well can help the companies to write and improve their jobs and their positions and things like that. So it is like an interface in between the agent, in between the job seeker and the company. So sometimes like these two jobs between like a case manager and a job developer, they intermingle a little bit because they are the glue between the two, the job seeker and the companies, but they do have a very specific work on them. for them. And then we have just the agency admins that are responsible for accepting new companies if they try to register and try to manage everything that's happening on the agency. Do the job seekers have a case manager? Do they all have it? That's the responsibility of the agency admin to verify that, and to ensure that, and to enforce that. As well as job developers, each job seeker should have a job developer that helps him find a job for him. So basically what we're talking about here is just like the person that will manage the agency. So this agency itself, what can the agency do? They can add jobs on behalf of a company. If you're a job developer, as I said before, you can do that. You are able to help the companies to create jobs, create their jobs posting. And another thing that they can do is to apply to a job on behalf of a job seeker. Let's imagine that you're a job seeker and you're trying to apply for a job, and you don't have your laptop or something like that. Then the job developer can say, I can help you out. I can apply on your behalf. Or if for some reason the job developer is looking at the specific job and matches a resume, you can then, if it has the permission from the job seeker, you can pick up that job seeker and apply to that job on his behalf. And so that's also a possibility. As I said, it's possible to manage case managers and jobs and the job seekers. And what we can do, like in terms of managers, was what I was talking about the agency admin. So basically, you can assign case managers to job seekers. You can assign job developers to job seekers, and you can make sure that everybody is served equally and has opportunities to find jobs. And the last on this list is here is basically you're able to match jobs and job seekers with jobs, right? And this is like the one of the major focus of the application, where you can just press the button and something happens. Of course, this if we like go very narrow on this, like there isn't that much. This is like the desired outcome, but at the same time, it is one of the most like simplest things, because it's split into a service and it does different things. So let's talk a little bit about the companies. The companies, they can create job seekers. They can review the applications. When someone applies to a job, they can just pick it up and see their resume, see their information, see if they want, if they like it, they want to proceed or not. And then they can also reject automatically the job application, and then the agency will get informed, or they can accept the job application as well. And they will inform the agency, and the agency will then start all the process and talk to the job seekers and so on. So like, I can talk like there's a lot of glue that ties everything together, and there are more features in here that the application that we just like expect them to work. Like we have notifications, we have like a ton of emails that are sent when things happen in the application, like when you create a job, when you apply for a job, there are emails sent. There's like a huge personality of utilities that were developed around this application, and that contains a lot of the code. So this is more or less where we are. We are in a live system. We do have, we are starting to have some job seekers, yeah, and we do have at least one or two companies that are starting to have jobs as well, and we're getting some feedback about like, oh, we're missing this, we're missing that, and we are just including those fields on jobs, and so that's where we are. So what's next? So these are the three things that are on our roadmap on what's going to happen next. So one of the things that our client wants is to have the ability of implementing somehow a multi-tenancy system or a multi-instance system where we can have multiple agencies and not only MetPlus to use this application. Like, this is the end goal, and this is one of the jobs that we're starting now to try to understand how hard would it be to have like multi-tenancy and what are the boundaries and so on. The other point is we eventually would like to integrate with other job posting websites and to like LinkedIn and eventually Indeed, things like that, so we can have the companies. This is to help the companies so that they create one ad in one place, and then it will get placed in. It will be automatically siphoned to Pats, or the other way around. And the third point is like the one that we want to get to, and it's the auditing and the ability to see where things are going with. To see like how the agency is performing, having people that are external to the system to understand if they do, if they are doing an awesome job, or if there's a need for improvement. And yeah, so these are the next steps. Cool questions. It's going to be hard. But if you have any questions, just jump to the MetPlus channel on Agile Ventures Slack, and we'll be glad to answer any of your questions. Like, it's one of the most interesting questions, or the most common questions that I have that I get when I talk about this project is, why don't we use I don't know, Monster Jobs or Indeed or something, some other website that's around that does some of these things. And the idea behind this is that the component of the agency itself, it's the management of the agency has is like our primary help. Like, what this system does, it helps an agency manage itself and make sure that people are being taken care of and that people can succeed. So there's like a huge difference when you have like these websites, these other websites which are just, some of them now have some recruitment on them, but the idea of having the structure of an agency that helps you, that's where the PAT system would eventually shine. So if you have any other questions about like what's the process, or what are you all playing around with now, and things like that, just join us on MetPlus channel, and we'll be happy to guide you and to help you. So yeah, thank you. I hope that you're enjoying yourselves on this conference, and that everything is going fine. And it's awesome having you on Agile Ventures. And if you're not on Agile Ventures, just sign up. You'll see that awesome things will happen. So it's great talking to y'all, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.
All right. Thank you, João. There we go. Really appreciate João taking the time to put together that video for us. I hope everybody could hear it okay. Good stuff. Now we've got, I myself am involved in the MetPlus project, not on the coding side actually. I'm involved on the DevOps side. The MetPlus has actually taken out a non-profit basic plan, which is sort of a monthly subscription with Agile Ventures, where we that doesn't include explicit development, but we host the site and address issues on it and so on. So if anybody has any questions about the DevOps side, I'm very involved in that. We're also very fortunate to have Pat here as well, who was involved very deeply with a lot of the early development of the system. So obviously, as João said, there's the MetPlus channel where people can ask questions. But if anybody had any other burning questions they wanted to put to myself or Pat, we could perhaps answer in João's stead. Sounds like nobody's immediately got any burning questions. I was just going to go and find the slide for shared, if I can, although I don't seem to show up in the right place myself. In the absence of any specific questions about MetPlus, we had been having a discussion in the previous session on SHF, talking about the challenges of sort of balancing, lots of junior developers coming in, wanting to learn the ropes, so to speak, and the desire to deliver things to a client. I mean, it's I'd be happy to talk more about that. The thing that occurred to me during the talk was that the challenge that we have for so many charity organizations that would like to have, a custom solution to meet, their needs, and the difficulties that they faced in terms of budgets, in that the kinds of things that we tend to be building in Agile Ventures using the bespoke solutions in Ruby on Rails and so on. I think the normal MO for that kind of thing would be that you would have quite a serious budget to pay for developers who are working on something full time and producing this bespoke solution. And I kind of assume that that's that is where one would get the best results. But the reality is, small charities and nonprofits just don't have the budget for that. So their options are either to go with a volunteer organization like ourselves, or to go for an off-the-shelf solution in terms of WordPress or Drupal or what have you, which could be developed potentially a lot more cheaply than more sophisticated bespoke solution that one might do in Rails or Django or Phoenix. Yeah, it's such a complicated mix. I don't know, does anybody have any either particularly Raul and Pat, but for everybody, I'll just open that out to the floor. I still feel we haven't managed to get the balance quite right yet, but maybe we're in a sweeter spot for some of these charities. I don't know.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can, Raul. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is quite difficult, to get, people involved in these projects and, getting the dedication to keep building, these solutions for our clients. But I think the idea with Agile Ventures in general, of like bringing people together to kind of like getting to hone their personal skills in terms of development and all is a good thing that we're doing at the moment. And I think so far there has been a huge amount of I'd like to think success in terms of people graduating from here to like other things in general. But it is indeed a difficult thing to balance in terms of how much effort you put into building these systems for the clients that we have in general. But yeah, I mean, like, it's something that from the time when I started working with Agile Ventures till today, I certainly think that there has been a lot of work done in terms of improving, the general idea behind it and how everything is being executed and how we kind of like deal with the clients and stuff like that. So I think we still have a lot of work to do, obviously, but sort of moving in the right direction so far.
So my thoughts. So that's good, Ro. Sometimes I think that the way Agile Ventures should work with clients. Actually, sometimes I think that the way we work with clients now is that we give too much away. And I think maybe an alternative model would be that an engagement with the client begins with an understanding that we will provide free services, develop an initial version, an MVP or whatever. But at that point, we need to go on a paid basis for sustainability. We have paid basis for DevOps once we go to production for sustainability. I think for continuing developing app beyond MVP and getting to something really valuable, a sustained basis could also be established. And that could be as simple as, at the very least, you need to pay for some number of hours per week for project management. Because that project manager will be involved with client liaison, working with you on stories and specifications for what you want to build, and also working with Sam and the people in AV to develop volunteers and bring them on board and make sure that they given interesting work to expand their tech and other skills. They won't be paid necessarily, but you'd need at least a project representative, let's call it a project manager, at the very least, to sustain. And above that, you get different models, and another model might be you pay for a team or so many hours of development, including project management and development, and if you have the budget for that. I mean, the fact is these charities, they don't have a lot of money, but they do have space, and they're paying rent, and they're paying utilities, etc. We should ask for them to also pay to some degree for the value they're getting from AV. I think for sustainability. But I think to sustain these projects, you need at least one person like Hua who sticks in there for the long term and keeps it going. Hua's done a great job in MetPlus. And that's what's kept it alive. Not that he needs to get paid for it, but but I think there's something to be thought about in terms of that for sustainability of the AV model. I don't know how other people think about that, but
that's a great point, Patrick, about the non-profits at least setting aside some little cash for the maintenance of whichever the project is helping them.
yeah, and I think it would sustain quality as well, because it's not just the volunteer effort. There are professionals who are being paid to some degree for building this thing and sustaining it. And recruiting and sustaining a development team that is also getting value out of the effort, whether they're paid or not.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think if rather than worrying about how we get there, if I imagine what I think would be the ideal setup, is we'd be in a situation with perhaps maybe some larger charities who did have a development budget, or already some budget, and were, able to put some money down to make it, a real sustained development effort. And I think all parties would benefit a lot more in that regard. If one had a project team where, like the project managers paid, even that there was some money to incentivize, even if we couldn't pay for every hour of what the volunteers wanted to put in, but something that just made that cohere, it would it would just be big benefits all round. The challenge that I see is at the moment that the larger charities, they want to work. I think their MO is, and I've been sort of getting more and more involved in the charity scene in London, is that they work with these agencies, and there are a big lot of kind of effectively closed source, but the sort of professional agencies who target explicitly charities, and they are the kind of people that the bigger charities go to. So we're kind of in direct competition with them, and the difficulty is that competition. We've managed to get, you know, various projects in the door by saying, hey, here's this big free thing, and it's got it started. But yeah, in terms of sustainability, yeah, I think ultimately everybody needs to be paid, and really all of the volunteers are sort of operating a little bit like interns. I mean, I think they're getting fantastically valuable experience, but it would be good for all the volunteers and for the projects and so on, if people were getting paid for 10 hours a week. Then that would mean that they would find it much easier to stay committed, and that would have partly addressed the problem we were talking about in the previous session, Pat, where, you know, you have people kind of coming and going, because that churn like just costs hours in terms of management and catching up and this, that, and the other. So yeah.
Well, given the nature of the people on these projects, if you got paid for 10, people would be working 20. That's just the way it works. I think the other thing is our model is attuned to bespoke development. Because of the nature of the people who come in and want to expand their skills. To your point earlier, could be the client will be best served by somebody who goes in there, understands their needs, and comes back with, you know what, here's a commercial app that we should buy, or this open source app, and we can extend it, do this, that, or the other, but it's a lot quicker, cheaper, and faster to put that in place for you than, you know, the greenfield development. So that's a whole other dimension of things to think about. But it would involve going counter to really the sweet spot for AV now, which is initial greenfield development, because of the nature of the people who are part of this organization. So that would have to be thought through also.
Yeah, and what we're seeing, I mean, we've got these, like I said, we start to have these DevOps plans in place. It would be lovely to see that extended into actual dev plans. The interesting thing is that we're getting some, you know, now starting to get some non-trivial contracts, but in those, like particularly the NHS Wiki project, where the budget's being capped and it's fairly clear that they don't want bespoke development. And it's a very interesting project. It's got every other feature of all of the Agile development projects, but just not the kind of bespoke development. It's got a big DevOps part to it. But yeah, our community as a whole seems less interested in those kind of cheap and cheerful approaches. Pivotal Labs, who I think I mean, it's all about this. The funny thing is about the angle that you come from. We're coming in kind of from the bottom, from the complete cheap thing. But Pivotal Labs, I'm talking to people here in London who are doing closed source development with, you know, in a fantastically agile way for, you know, blue chip companies and so on over here, and now approaching the larger charities with the idea of doing charity development work and so on. But they've sort of come in at a premium, you know, and it's easy if you're already charging that high level thing, and you've got this whole huge emphasis on, you know, filtering and all this, that, and the other. It's easy to go there. I guess it's difficult, having set our price point so low, to now try and claw our way up that ladder. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't. Just yeah, it makes me wish I had a better background in marketing and all that stuff.
So Pivotal Labs is selling services to charities at a discount from their usual rates, or something?
I think so. Yeah, well, they've got this thing called the PM. What they're trying to do is, well, they have the particular model where they, rather than just building something for them, they want to kind of like train up the in-house staff of an organization to use the whole agile approach by having those staff come and interesting, the model in London is they actually have the staff of the organization come and pair with pivots in the Pivotal Labs office. And so I think, yeah, they're sort of doing a thing where they say, like, you know, let's work with, you know, big charities and give them a bit of a discount on that. And yeah, I mean, already talking to them, I think the challenge they're finding is that actually even the very biggest charities tend not to, they have in-house tech people, but they don't do in-house development. And there's a lot more using off-the-shelf stuff than there is greenfield development, which is so then they're trying to, I mean, they're now looking at like, oh, what do we do? Is it do it open source? Do we try and get volunteers involved from outside? I mean, hopefully there may be a a nice synergistic collaboration with them at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that is their model, right? To train the organization to do it themselves.
Right.
And I can't imagine many charities have an in-house development group.
No.
Except maybe the biggest.
That's right. Only the very biggest. Yes. And what the magic ingredient would seem to be a philanthropist who have basically had oodles of cash and just really believed in this, you know, making the world a better place by empowering, you know, people to sort of learn in real time in real projects, which is what Agile Ventures is all about. But yeah, great conversation. Probably going to have to wrap up because we've got another talk coming up very soon. Great to see all of you. Thanks to Joao for making the video available and everybody for getting involved in the chat. What is that next talk coming up? We've got, it's going to be the Wiki EDU dashboard with Sage Ross starting up in about 8 minutes. See you all there. Bye for now.